Hello, everyone, and welcome to the first episode of Gaming Landscape Podcast. You might ask, why is it called Gaming Landscape Podcast? But that's because we want to draw a picture in your head by all the gaming news we're going to tell you in this fantastic show. This show is a new gaming podcast, the only gaming podcast you ever need, and it's me, Dvalin, and Alumio.
Hey, it is me. Some people might know me already from Corepunk, at least from that community. Others that don't follow that community more likely have no idea who I am. But hey, if you stay around, you'll probably get to know me a bit. So yeah, stick around.
Exactly. And for everyone, new listeners, first episode ever. This is like the big official release. Me and Alumio had a chat and we were like, we should make a podcast just talking about games, updating everyone about what's happening in the gaming world. And then we created Gaming Landscape Podcasts.
Exactly. Hello, if we are very precise, it was probably just Dvalin informing you guys and me, and I'm here sitting along for the ride, just to give my opinions as the non-informed part of the podcast, and I'll learn right beside you guys as well.
Exactly. I will be the main host, coming with all the topics, and then Alumio will be the guest and will also co-host, but he will be the person who doesn't know the topics, and he will probably ask questions like you would do, so you don't have to sit with the questions behind the microphone or the stereo headset, whatever it is. But today, before we start, you're probably wondering, who are you, Dvalin, or who are you, Alumio? So we're just going to give a 2-minute brief on who we are, each person. So Alumio, could you give a 2-minute brief on who are you?
Oh, 2 minutes? I have not timed this. Again, if you start from what I said earlier, I basically don't exist in social media, but if you are from the Corepunk community, at least from the official Discord or the forums, then you sort of would have an idea of who I am. Just a very active guy in that side, very helpful. Try to do my best to help every new person or every question that's answered in there, or asked in there, to be more precise. I would do my best to help, since we don't get much help from other sections.
Okay. Yeah. Well, and what could you just give one word on what do you do when you're not gaming?
When I'm not gaming, well, I gotta say, main thing would be working. I suppose that's the main thing. And I would be working on, besides the normal job, we're working on some personal projects. For example, talking about the Corepunk community, which is the one that I'm active in, I developed a board game based off of that IP, which I think is very interesting. You also played it, and we played it on a video to showcase it to people more easily. And yeah, I'm just jumping from project to project as I finish them. Things to keep me busy.
Cool. Well, thank you. So, and now you might ask, who are you, Dvalin? Well, I am Dvalin.
Who are you? Yeah, tell us. Who are you?
Well, so I'm a little bit, you could probably say, YouTuber who likes to do video content on YouTube. I have a little follower base on 11,000 people, and I enjoy talking about MMORPGs. When I'm not making videos and talking about MMORPGs, I am a dad to 2 small kids, girls, and I love them. And when I'm not together with them, I'm a manager in my work time. So I have plenty of things to look at.
Yeah, that sounds very good.
It does.
What do you manage? If we want to get a little bit into it, what do you manage?
Well, I'm a manager in a department where we are supporting all the applications and system in a big company. So you could say it's operation manager.
Got some experience in organizing things, getting that information that you need to be able to organize all the different teams and such.
Exactly. Spot on.
Well, I hope you can organize me and the people listening into what we should expect in the near future regarding gaming.
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to it.
Exactly. So for the listeners out there, we are going to come out with an episode each week, and it will be about the hot topics of gaming currently. Today, in this episode, we're going to talk about some topics that is a bit special. So it's not probably what's going around this week, but in the future, we're going to talk about each week's most hyped gaming news. So you always just have to listen to this podcast and you know that you know everything that's going on. So, Alumio, are you ready to the first topic?
Yes, let's get to it. Come on.
Okay.
Teach me things.
So, Bloomberg reportedly 2 days ago said that the big new Lord of the Rings MMORPG from Amazon Game and Liu from China has been cancelled.
Okay.
Exactly.
That does not seem too surprising, in all honesty, from Amazon's other track record of their games.
No.
Although it does seem a little surprising since we heard nothing about it, but it was quite talked about, even without knowing much from it.
Well, you could say the reason for why Amazon actually really did this was also, well, they wanted to release a game and the TV series they bought the rights to, so they could release a game and a TV series on the same time, and in that way hype up the Lord of the Rings and universe in the world and really pump out big money.
That could have been really good. Like, what went wrong? Like, after did it say what went wrong? Or it just casually came out and canceled it?
Some people working in their companies that didn't, of course, want to mention. Well, there is some really good people. Well, you could say the sources are really good, but they didn't want to, of course, tell their names because then they would get sued in head or ass or what you can say. But it says that after that Liu got bought from Tencent, which you probably know who is.
Yeah.
The company who owns probably half of the gaming market.
For sure.
Exactly. They couldn't get an agreement with Amazon. You know, it's probably a case matter of who's getting most of the money out from this game. And you probably know two big giants fighting over who's going to get most money. We know how that goes. So, in the end, they couldn't agree. That's what the story tells. So they had to split. Even though Tencent had nothing to do with this game for 2 years until they bought the company called Liu from China. And after they bought it, they basically also own now half of Lord of the Rings MMO. And in that reason, well, Amazon had to face Tencent and, you know, find a reason, or you can say, who's got to get the most money.
That is a shame, not just because of the MMO, also because of the series. There was like the potential in there for us to get back into the universe, both gameplay wise and like visually. Maybe get some of those actors from the original movies back to get some older in the future areas, basically of the world of Lord of the Rings world. Do we know if it was like the time frame where this was supposed to happen?
Actually,
like
both the TV series and the game was supposed to be long before the movies.
Before, okay.
Yeah, so it was like creating the universe, like the book Millennium or whatever it's called, where the book is about how the whole universe was got together. A bit after that, but you know, a lot before the movies was going on. So we like to see how did the mountains maybe get their name? How did the orcs start and all that? So
okay.
Yeah, so you could say that the main actors would not be able to be there because they were like not born.
But maybe it could, I suppose, like have a connection with the rings, because I don't remember fully. I've been ages since I've watched Lord of the Rings, but weren't like the rings created like long before the movies?
I mean, I'm pretty sure if you watch Lord of the Rings 1, he actually creates the rings. Well, no. You're a bit right, because when the movie Lord of the Rings 1 started, they started talking about he created rings in the volcano.
Yeah.
They delivered them, they got a war, and all that. And then the movie starts a couple 100 years after the ring has been found again, or something like that.
Okay, so yeah, we could have seen maybe like a quest line or something along those lines for the ring creation, all the different rings, and maybe the downfall of certain empires or the creation of others, potentially like some bigger entities in the universe that they never get touched upon, but like mentioned in the books or something. That could have been really cool. It's very sad to see that corporate got in the way, I suppose.
Yeah.
Business. Hey, business is business. If it doesn't work out, it moves on.
Yeah, and imagine being a developer for that game, working 2 years on it, and then, oh, it's cancelled. Like, wow, all the hours you spent into it.
Yeah, I'm not really surprised. I don't know if the other games that got cancelled were for similar reasons that Amazon had, but I gotta say I'm not surprised due to the track record I've been having. I'm actually very surprised that New World is still standing, in all honesty, with all the ups and downs it has been gotten.
Yeah, but well, you can say there is one thing that is good for New World. You know, when Crucible started the battle royale / team fight game, hero team fight, which actually I actually enjoyed it. When it got cancelled, all the developers from that game got moved over to New World.
Oh, okay, so they got an influx of resources, basically.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
And when Lord of the Rings MMO got cancelled like 2 days ago, they also moved all the developers from Amazon's side over to New World.
Okay, so they're keeping it afloat, sort of like pumping more resources into it, trying to get a win out of all these losses. If you
Yeah.
can call that.
Yeah, I mean, because New World is a game that has huge potential, especially after the breaking news, well, the latest news that they announced that they're going to have instance dungeons now, battlegrounds, which real battlegrounds,
okay.
you know, they keep adding these theme park things now, which they liked before.
Yeah, I knew it started as like a PvP, a more PvP focused game.
Yeah.
But it started walking towards the typical theme park side more and more. Well, I suppose while it's bad for the original players that really wanted it for what it was at the time, without dwelling in the past and like looking at what we currently have now, it does seem to be taking more and more good steps towards something that at least a population of the gaming community could enjoy. So
yeah,
gotta say it's nice to see that even though they're canceling projects that could have been really good, they're still rerouting the resources to a good place.
Yeah, I mean, I personally have faith in New World, especially after the latest updates. And the game is first releasing in August, end of August, so you know, plenty of time. Plenty of time.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, so that was this little Lord of the Rings topic, which came, you know, like 2 days ago. So I thought it was like worth mentioning.
I agree. It's quite an interesting, sad, very interesting piece of information.
It definitely is. But now we have to talk about the big elephant in the house, and which is the 4 top view, isometric view games releasing in 2022. Because, hold your horses, in 2022, we are gonna get Diablo 4, Path of Exile 2, Corepunk, and Lost Ark to Europe. That is 4 isometric view games, which has all probably AAA in their names. Games coming in 2022. Can you imagine that 4 of these epic games is going to battle for this year?
So we actually got like confirmation of like release date, or at least public available versions of the games.
Well,
all those games.
Diablo 4 said to the investors that 2022 is going to be the greatest year ever. So I guess that kind of confirms it's coming out there. Path of Exile 2 have said it's ready for 2022. Lost Ark is just doing the small last things, and Amazon has said they're going to publish it. So it's like, you know, it could actually
be the Western release.
Exactly, and it could basically release tomorrow if, you know, it's just a matter of time. So it could actually be 2021. But Corepunk, we also know that they are right now focusing on releasing end of 2021.
Yep.
But as we have seen the streak history of Corepunk, it might get delayed a bit.
Yep, but thank God I hope it gets here. I'm really looking forward to it.
So you could say, yeah, these 4 games is 100% going to be on your PC by next year.
Okay, there's definitely a wide amount, of several amounts of good games to cover this isometric view range. So we got all those 4, and they're all quite varied, from my understanding, in like what they try to achieve, right?
Yeah, each of the game has like their own vision. Well, let's hang on that, because actually Diablo, Path of Exile 2, and Lost Ark, gameplay-wise, is how the game feels is very close the same. It's this MMO ARPG where you like really fast run through things. Like
you're flying around at Mach 10 across the world, killing everything.
Exactly. It's just thunderbolts everywhere, fire, flame, or all over the place, and enemies dying. Where we could say Corepunk is more this slow-paced League of Legends / Dota style game.
Yeah.
And so it might be Diablo, Path of Exile, and Lost Ark is going to compete, where Corepunk is going to be more attractive for the classic MOBA players.
And are they all like fully like new games? I think I heard something about at least Path of Exile 2, that it wasn't actually a proper like new game.
Yeah, you are right. It's actually just the act they're adding to the Path of Exile 1, but all the new classes they're adding to the game, if you create one of them, you have to run through the whole new, you can say, act, the whole new campaign. But on the same time, they're also overhauling the whole graphic. So instead of, the characters in Path of Exile 1 had 30 animations and how your character can like move and how smooth it looks. In Path of Exile 2, they're gonna add 200 animations to each of the characters and monsters. So yeah, exactly. So they don't upgrade the engine by graphics, but they just add much more motion to the game, so it looks better.
I kind of like that approach. It's sort of, instead of starting from scratch, well, I guess they technically could have started from scratch to develop potential new engine or whatever. They are basically adding on top of what a lot of people consider a good game.
Yeah.
They're just grabbing it and making it better and adding more of the same onto it, instead of pulling people away from this established game that is played a lot.
Yeah, exactly. They are really doing an MMORPG thing here, like World of Warcraft, where you just add an expansion.
Yeah.
Makes the game look better, but it's still the same game under the skin.
I gotta say that even though I don't play Path of Exile, that is something I can stand behind just as a customer. You don't get left behind if you have such a big investment in your characters and such, because I assume they carry over and they still stay, right?
Yeah. The end game in the game is going to be a mix between the new classes you can create in the new act, or you can just keep the characters you have from the old game, and then it will still be the same end game in the end, but some new things to do.
Okay, that's good. I do think from all these 4 like games, Path of Exile, I suppose, fits the complex, like most complex one, like title better, I suppose so. From my understanding from an outside point of view, Path of Exile is that game where it's complex to get into, and you might have your first character might be a complete utter waste of time that you can't do anything with, and you either spend some time trying to theory craft a valid build, or you just go into the internet and try and find something. Otherwise, you just can't do anything towards the end game, right?
It is probably, of all the games that we're going to mention, it is probably the most advanced one, where you can really just keep on building these unique builds. I mean, have you seen the skill tree in that game? It is
Yeah, it's a massive one. Yeah.
it's insane. It's too much for me personally. Well, but yeah, it could still. I mean, from the trailers I have seen of Path of Exile 2, the how they make the graphic looks in that game looks amazing. So, but I'm just gonna say, if I have to choose between Diablo 4 and Path of Exile 2, I am a Diablo 4 guy.
I suppose Diablo 4 is going to be, while keeping sort of the speed of combat, like being in the same area, that it's not as complex, I suppose.
Nah,
But it is taking a step away from what Diablo 3 was, right? It's going to be
yeah,
more like the older ones,
it's
which
gotta
are
be a combination of the older ones, but also new. Because if you go, which if we like go through each of the games like short, you can say Diablo 4 is going to be this massively open world. I almost want to say MMO, but they don't say it's an MMO. It's more like an open world online RPG where it's
okay.
so when you create your character, you can either go up, west, south. You can go whichever way you want, but you still have all these four different acts. But you don't have to do the act one first. You can go right and then go to act three over here, and then you can go back to the home base and then go up and do act four. So it's totally up to you how you want to go into this world, but it's just
Okay.
massively.
That does sound quite interesting. There's no sense of linearity
No,
of where you have to go first. Is there really like no restriction in the sense of if you go to Act 4 first, there's like some set of level scaling or some resistance scaling or such that you just don't have to like stop you from doing that?
no, not at all. Because how it works again is when you completed the full game, then you can set it on hell. Then you can complete it again, nightmare. All this, so you can like scale up the game. But the whole world is scaling with your character. So it's just one open world, and they don't call it
Okay.
and they don't call it acts anymore. It's more like campaigns.
Oh, how does that work with like multiplayer? Because it has multiplayer, right?
Yeah, exactly. The cool thing with multiplayer in Diablo 4 is it's open world. So that means when you run around this massive world, yes, and it's so massive that you need a mount. They're going to add mounts to this game.
So they're gonna add mounts to a game that's like usually played at Mach 10 speed. Well, I suppose that since it's gonna be closer to the older Diablos, that it's not gonna be as fast.
No, no. I mean, when we see from the trailer, the game is so massive, so you need mounts to travel around. And the cool thing about the online in this game is that when you run randomly around, you meet other people. You just randomly meet other people. There's no servers, anything. It's just like like Elder Scrolls Online, where you have one mega server, and then you have layers. And then in each layer, there's probably like 20 people. So when you play, there's a chance you meet these random 20 people around the world. And of course, you can
Okay.
then invite your friend, and then you can create your own hub. But you're still gonna meet these other 18 people, where you can toggle on PvP or off.
Okay, so it's basically as you're like going through zone, you're slipping into like different layers. Is that it?
Yeah,
Okay, that's interesting.
and you don't have loading screens or anything like that. You just walk around in this massively world, and then it does like World of Warcraft, loads it in background without you noticing it.
So while it doesn't well, it's not exactly an MMO.
No,
It's like a I even dread like to say like to use this term for for the lack of a better one, like it's sort of a fake MMO
yeah,
as it simulates it, I suppose.
pretty much, yeah, and
Are there like
almost
any
MMO.
are there like any objectives to incentivize like people gathering around, even if it's just not from your party?
They have world bosses, so sometimes world bosses spawn in the game, and then people can run together and kill it. So you don't even have to party with them. You have these big battles which going on. So randomly, when you run around, there's a world boss spawning, and then a couple of people can run over there and kill it.
Like do we know if there's like some how does the loot get distributed? Uh,
It's a personalized loot, so everyone gets their
okay.
own loot.
So there's technically no reason to just randomly attack someone that's doing the world boss as well, right?
You mean like PvP?
Yeah, PvP.
Now, open world PvP is only designed for actually just for fun.
Okay,
But
okay.
they have added some objectives in the game where when you do them, you have to enable PvP, and then you have to kill some skeletons, deliver the crystals in some kind of a tower. And while you're doing that, PvP is enabled, but then you can kill the other people to get their crystals. So the person who
Oh,
delivers most crystals actually like gets the bonus. Like in Heroes of Storm, if you know that map where you have to kill 100
yeah,
skeletons first,
yeah.
exactly like that.
So it's sort of a thing where you actually don't get rewarded for killing the person, but you're trying to steal the PvE objective that they're doing, so you can deliver yours like multiple times, basically.
Yeah. I mean, when you kill someone, you get a portion of his gold and you get his ear.
Ear. What do you do with his ear?
Well, I mean that's the old thing from Diablo 2. So when you kill someone, you have his ear, and then you can like if you killed Asmongold, you can go around with his ear and say, "Hey, I killed Asmongold."
So can you lose those, or is that like an achievement?
No, you just put them in your bank, and then you can like keep them.
Jesus Christ.
And that's why
That's gonna be
that,
interesting.
that's why in the cinematic trailer they just released for Diablo 4, you saw like an assassin going into a church and
Yeah, yeah.
delivering an ear.
So that scene on that trailer of her laying down on the bench like a bunch of different ears as actual gameplay
Yeah,
replicated.
it is basically a player who just killed like 50 people.
That is a fun thematic thing. I'm not gonna lie. It is very, very interesting.
Yeah, and the very old school Diablo 2 players who played that game, like, I played it a lot too, but I had to think about it first. But I think those players, they really laughed when they saw all the ears.
I can already see like a bunch of like Reddit posts or whatever just showing ear collections. Just very looking forward to that, to trying that out. Hey, maybe I'll collect your ear. Yeah.
Oh, that's for Dvalin. One more for the collection. Yeah. But the game is going to have, end game with dungeons, randomized dungeons, climb the leaderboards, a bit like Path of Exile and Diablo does already today. But I think it's fine because you have all this open world where you can explore and kill other people and collect their ears.
Yeah, it's very, very, very good. I like this. I like this mechanic, even if it does not have any actual like beneficial mechanics around it besides just like personal emotion. I'm quite interested in it. I'm already like somewhat invested in it, even though I don't have the game yet.
No, exactly. What I was like, also, oh, Diablo 4, it's gonna be boring. But then when they told all this, I was like, wow, okay. First you got my attention, now you have my. Oh wait, that was first you have my curiosity, now you have my attention.
Exactly, that's the way it goes.
Exactly. Yeah. So I'm gonna buy that game day one. Even if Corepunk releases, I still have to play that game a bit in the background.
I for sure I'll watch you, and I'll probably get it pretty soon after. In all honesty,
Yeah.
because it is sounding quite interesting. Just at least for like a nice like week session or something. Even if it does not become it does not become a main game. I think it's quite a good session, like type of game.
Yeah, and that's
Like,
I mean that's the thing with Diablo, right? You can play it and then you can put it on the shelf again, wait for the next update, and then take it down from the shelf.
do we know if they're gonna have like the what's that called on Diablo 3? Like leagues, seasons?
Yeah, they're gonna have seasons, and the seasons is gonna contain more things you can do now instead of only these dungeons.
Okay, well, typically not very much of a fan of that type of content, but I do know that it does have its fan base,
It
and it is
does.
very much loved. So
Yeah,
there are people that really like leveling characters
yeah. There's
and
like a
having content
whole
for it.
universe around it.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so
So if we go back to like the other two games, like Lost Ark, that has been out for several years, right?
Yeah, I mean, Lost Ark. Well, when was it? Lost Ark release date was in 2018, December 4th.
Okay, so it has some years to it.
Yeah, but we have to keep in mind when we get it here in the Western, it's gonna be an updated version. All the minor bugs has been
Okay.
fixed. The graphics has got a little tweaks there and here. So when we get the game, you can say the what is called in English, the Asia.
The
Yeah,
definitive, like we're basically getting a definitive edition, like, or what's currently up to date, I suppose.
exactly. And you can say Asia, all those countries from there, they have like beta tested it for us.
But that, I suppose the key question here, I would actually quite like if you know the answer to it, that typically Eastern games, Oriental side games, have an end game business strategy that does not work well in the Western side, and I'm not sure that we know if like these types of systems are going to be carried over to like our release.
It is.
Of,
We
oh,
are getting the Eastern end game with grinding. I think people say even as a couple of pay to win, um,
okay.
and more grinding.
Uh,
Yeah.
I think I'm gonna put it in the basket of, again, stuff to play and try and like stick to it for like a week or two. Just give it a good run. But if it does become a second job for me to have to play every day and grind specific things every day that isn't just like 2 or 3 tasks, so I can actually get time to play more of the game instead of just grinding daily. Um, I think I'm gonna set it aside on the uh, not main game type of games.
Mm. Yeah, I'm with you. The game for me is gonna be like Magic Legends, where you basically download it, try it, and yeah, then it might be that.
Because I do remember seeing it some time ago where it had very good visuals. There was like quite a good immersion, and the classes felt quite different in them, in what they do and what they achieve,
Yeah,
like the impact they have.
yeah. Yeah, definitely. They have like a rogue, and then they have like casters. They are so different. The thing that I like about Lost Ark, well, I'm not gonna like the way I talked about Diablo. I can't talk about Lost Ark in that way because I haven't studied that game that much. Because I got a bit angry on it because we can't play it. So why study a game you can't play?
Yeah.
But one of the things I like about the game is that they have actually arena. So I know they have 1 versus 1. I'm not sure if they have 2 versus 2 and 3 versus 3. But I really like games like this where they have arenas. It's like, why are no one else doing it?
I suppose there's like a differentiation, uh, like, or a deviation on the PvP community where you have
Hmm.
two sides of it. You have the instanced PvP community, and then you have the open world one, which is Lost Ark like a proper MMO, or is it sort of like Diablo, aka like a quote
It's
unquote fake MMO in my
yeah,
mind?
it's more like a fake MMO. Well,
Okay.
but the difference here, why it actually could be called a normal MMO, is that you have actually these city hubs with a lot of people. I mean, Diablo 4 is also going to have that with cities where maybe you're going to see 10 or 20 other peoples. But in this case, I mean, they have like cities where you're like 100 or 1,000 people in there. Uh,
Okay.
so they are going to have a bit of these social hobbies. So I think that's the reason for why they actually can call it an MMO.
But when you actually get out of the social hubs, it sort of comes back to you're not going to see that many people.
Yeah, I
You're not
think
going
it's
to,
going to be
yeah.
more like Diablo 3 then.
Is it even like? Is it like What's the word? Seamless open world?
No,
Like,
no, no, no. It's more like you follow the route.
oh, so it's linear. It's a linear style,
Yeah.
but it's not hub. It's not like hub to mission based, right?
Nah, no. I would say it's more. It's more like Diablo 2 and 3, where you basically have a map which
Oh,
randomly generates, but you have to still follow, the line.
okay, okay. Hmm. I guess it could be the type of game that you just play while doing something else. So, like you keep your hands occupied, like you like part of your brain like active while you're just watching like a movie or something. I
Hmm.
suppose it could fit that quite well.
Well, I mean, if the game came out, like next month, I would play the hell out of it because right now I have like nothing to play. So yeah, I mean, I guess it depends on when it comes out.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna give it a go as well. Just because of the major factor that I'm gonna try like a class or two that I've seen like in the past, which I have to say I have no recollection of what it was called. Uh, I think it was like a type of mercenary class. Yeah, like a shotgun and such. I think you could switch weapons midway, which was quite interesting to me at the time. And the other one was uh the one with the cards. I think you just like go around flinging cards around,
Mm.
which was quite interesting to me in like the typical design because it's not something that I see that often,
No, no,
like
no.
that theme on a class. Um, and the big piece for me is that it has, or at least from what I've seen, it has like a sort of a gauntlet, like 100 floor type tower type thing, which I do love me some PvE gauntlets, and it's something that I can get behind, even if the rewards of it are based off of an Eastern model, Eastern business model of just grind, 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 grind without anything else to do.
So it's like those roguelike games where you have to like climb 100 levels in a tower.
Yeah, I think it's something like that.
Oh, okay.
Could be wrong, of course. They could have, for all I know, they could have scrapped that. Like they could have scrapped that feature. But I do think that that did exist, and it
Hmm.
was something that quite got me a bit hooked onto it. But in comparison to all the other things I've heard about it and that you've told me about, um, it does leave it on a 50-50 like stance. But hey, as long as it does give a few hours of fun, I guess that's what matters.
Yeah.
Because it's gonna be free, right? Like,
Yeah, what I heard is it's gotta be free to play, and of course then it's gotta have a big cash up.
so like Diablo and Corepunk are paid to play, right? I
Yeah.
assume is Path of Exile gonna be like the same format because they have, which is free to play with some utility
Yeah,
microtransactions.
Path of Exile is gotta be 100% free to play also. So
Okay, so yeah,
yeah, you're gonna have Path of Exile and Lost Ark, which is free to play, and then Diablo Corepunk buy to play.
that's yeah that does give it room to at least try it, I suppose, and make my own judgment once I get my hands on it, I suppose.
Yeah, but because I guess Path of Exile and Lost Ark for you is gonna be those games where you're like, I kind of want to try it, but I don't want to buy it, and I mean, then it's pretty lucky it's gonna be free.
Exactly. It's those that can just give it a go, play it, try and see how um, brain dead I can get while playing it, what other things I can do while playing it, and see how far that takes me.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, it does need a look over when I actually get access to it to see how it stands, how I stand with it. But because at the moment it's very 50-50.
Yeah, and then Diablo 4 and Corepunk is gonna be purchased on day one.
Oh yeah, I think Diablo 4 is walking close to day one purchase to me, at least from all the things that I've seen. Because even though it might not end up with me being super focused on it while playing, because I doubt I'll be playing at the level where I actually need to have that much concentration. Um, it does have to seem to have a lot of like good things about it or interesting systems about it to potentially give some good time.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I think for a fair chance. Oh well. By the way, to all the hardcore Lost Ark players, as you can probably hear, me and Illumio are not like professional Lost Ark players. So if we have said anything wrong about Lost Ark, I mean, feel free to comment or wherever you want. Tell us that we are wrong about this.
Sure.
But yeah, but Diablo and Corepunk, we know for sure what it's about.
Do feel free to try and convert me because I do have some interest in it. I just have some worries, I gotta say. But I suppose I should do my research myself.
Yeah, I get it. But for being fair for all these games, we are also now going to talk about Path of Exile 2 for a bit. And that game is, you probably, most of people maybe know Path of Exile, but it is also a bit like, you can say, Diablo-ish with this ARPG combat. You run through levels, axe, can teleport back and forth in the axe, kill bosses, and so on and so on. Has a huge skill tree talent system where you can go whichever way you want, the different stats, spells, so on. The end game is potentially some kind of generated dungeons where you keep doing them faster, harder, so you climb a leaderboard and to see who's gonna be the season's master. The game right now, Path of Exile, is more popular than Diablo. It has 20k average viewers on Twitch, where Diablo is about 3k. So Path of Exile is definitely the ARPG king at the moment, but I mean,
Okay.
at the moment.
Yeah, that could change. I suppose with Diablo 4 coming out, that could be a big shift. Didn't like Diablo 2 come out, like the remaster, or like an alpha test or something?
The alpha actually came out, and then it had 80k viewers on Twitch. So of course that big time won. But I mean, I think the alpha is already closed again, so no one is playing it again.
I suppose there could be some potential there, right?
I definitely think if the game releases forward before Diablo 4, I think it's gonna be bigger than Path of Exile, but maybe just for like a moment, because I mean, Diablo 2 is limited how much you can do in it.
Yeah. Okay. Because, well, yeah, I suppose if they don't actually develop new content for it, it is a game that has already come out and has had its time to shine.
Yeah, it's not gonna have new content, but it's gonna have a lot of improvements like shared bank on all your character, like a lot of things that makes the game even better. Things where people say, "Ah, I wish this was the case. I wish this was the case." All those things they're gonna add, so the game gonna feel fantastic with better graphics and all that. But yeah, not new content.
But yeah, it will for sure still like have like that its week or two of spotlight like shining away from Path of Exile.
Yeah, and I mean, I guess then you could say 2022 is gonna be the battle between five. I guess because some people probably also want to play Diablo 2 Resurrection, I think they called it.
Yeah, I can see a lot of people that did grew up with the game would have some big nostalgia effect that they would like to spend some time with it, like big time with it.
Mm, yeah. Oh well. And then I guess that's what we can say about Path of Exile because that's how much we know about it.
It was quite recent, right? I think they teased it like a while ago, but the
well,
actual reveal was like recent.
no, for 1 year ago they showed the first trailer of Path of Exile 2, and then they showed a second trailer like 1 week ago.
They
And
have been quiet about it, right?
yeah, and it looks fantastic. So it looks really good,
Yeah,
graphic and gameplay wise. But yeah,
definitely look forward to seeing it as well. Make my own opinion. I suppose, when it fully comes out.
Yeah. And then we have the last in the classroom, Corepunk.
Hey, finally.
And just to give a quick brief to everyone, Corepunk is going to be an MMORPG with the isometric view. It's going to have dungeons, solo dungeons, randomized dungeons, group dungeons, raids. It's going to have guild battles, guild fights. It's going to have arena, battlegrounds, open world, questing, crafting, gathering, mounts. I could probably keep saying words the whole night, but as you can probably hear, Corepunk is going to be the ultimative theme park MMO.
So basically, it is trying to aim for something else that the others are not aiming for, I suppose. Like, it's actually trying to aim to be a proper, like I would say, World of Warcraft inspired MMORPG. It's like an actual proper MMORPG with its like several features and the proper big open world where you'd be constantly fighting people and finding people left and right, I suppose.
Yeah, because they said they had took a lot of inspiration from the vanilla World of Warcraft, not classic, the original World of Warcraft back in
Oh,
days.
okay.
So yeah, so Eugene and P Shack, you can say the producer and the game, what is it called? The game. What is P
Lead,
Shack's role? Yeah,
lead game designer.
exactly. They played a lot of World of Warcraft vanilla, the good old one, and that game had the same thing, open world, but you also like to kill other people, and like kill them for some honor points and some rank and so on. So they also, of course, gonna bring it to here. And where I see this game can success is, all the people who there's probably been millions of people downloading Albion Online, but 80% of them probably uninstalled it because the game is very, you can say, light on PvE aspects. And I think
Yeah,
all those players are gonna enjoy Corepunk so much because it's gonna have so much PvE.
yeah. There is, I suppose, there is a drought in MMORPGs, like, or at least new ones that just don't collapse right away. That side, that this community is gonna be gobbling up every new entry that shows up, or at least trying it, and see what they think of it, and hopefully finding something to stick on for years. Um, but yeah, regarding the actual Albion population coming over, I can see that a lot of the PvE side would attempt to come over, uh, due to the nature of full loot not being a thing. But I can also see some of the PvP community from Albion attempting to come over as well, and potentially trying to do tactics that work in Albion that might not work here at all, completely at all, like zerging or anything of that sort. But they will be attempted for sure. That's what I think. At least a period at game release that it will be tried, and we will see what will stick, I suppose.
Yeah, I have exactly the same thought. I also think that a lot of classical Albion players will, yeah, as you say, come to the game, roam around the paths and kill people. And when they found out when they kill people, they get nothing but only like karma points. they they are gonna quit.
Yeah, because you actually have to fight people at your level or stronger if you want to actually get something beneficial out of it. If of course you're not just looking for emotion, like emotional reward of, aha, I killed you, I'm better than you, etc., etc. Um, if you're looking for something more than just that, then I suppose ganging up on people probably not gonna give you not getting ganging and I'm sorry, ganging up to the levels of like a Zerg versus player type thing, not just like a small squad of 4 or 5 people, whatever, uh, going around and fighting at the small squads or solo players. that's perfectly fine. That's in the nature of it. But actually going out of your way to organize zergs and such without a specific localized objective in mind, like a world boss or something, that I suppose it could quickly come down to, after like a week of doing it, of we're actually not getting anything. We're just killing people for the sake of killing people. I suppose it would potentially, it's to some of that population, it would eventually hit of we're not achieving anything.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I think the biggest audience from the MMORPG world is gonna really like this. Like they're gonna be big fans of it. But yeah, the people who want full PvP and really punishment if you die, yeah, they're not gonna be liking this. But I also think the developers, they don't care, because we have seen that the biggest audience of MMORPGs, they like PvE for sure.
Yeah, and this is to say that, and I suppose we, at least I am talking about Corepunk with my rose tinted glasses, since out of these all these games, it is the one that I'm more interested and invested into. So basically, take what I say with a grain of salt, but it's not just appealing to PvE players. It does have systems for PvE in place for PvP.
Oh yeah.
Sort of like all the instanced arenas, instanced battlegrounds. I think there's guild wars. Like you can actually, a guild can declare a war on another guild and such in the open world. There is, for post-launch, like there's plans for castle sieges, like guild territory wars. There's also the normal open world PvP. And well, it's just like we got rankings, blah blah blah. There's a variety of systems that could also appeal to the PvP side of things. But again, at the same time, there's also a bunch of systems for the PvE side. So I suppose it will very much depend on what the upcoming CBT tells us of what to expect from the game. And then when it actually releases, to see where the player base settles, if the PvP side finds enough enthusiasm in it to drive away PvE players, or if there's even the possibility of that happening. Like, for example, a PvE player just simply cannot move across the world without getting killed constantly, even though he might not lose much or anything most of the times. The simple fact of you just cannot move across might upset some people, but I suppose that's something we have to see of how it will play out. Like, to which side will the population tilt when the game actually comes out? The PvE side or the PvP?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think I heard Eugene say a long time ago in the chat that they wanted the game to be 50-50, where World of Warcraft today is probably like 20-80, like 20% PvP, 80% PvE. And I think I heard Eugene say something about 50-50.
Yeah, there was an attempt at a balance. Like, there's an attempt at trying to balance the game for both sides, as there is enough on both sides for you to enjoy yourself.
Yeah.
So basically, the usual approach that's hard to achieve, of trying to give enough to each side without catering to every single whim from both sides. So there will be things to entertain you for you to spend your time on PvE, but you're also gonna have to like be fine with dealing with like a few PvP things that might be forced on you, and the other way around. And I guess it is just a question of seeing if this wishful thinking will actually work. Which, because saying these things, and in actual practice, when it actually comes to the real servers, real environment, if it will actually work like that, that's the big difference. which, yes, it's still left to be judged.
Yeah, but I mean, hopefully next month, end of May, they talked about us getting into the closed beta. So I guess then we will be able to play the first 20 levels and we can see how the game is after all.
Yeah, for sure. While it won't give a full understanding of what to expect, since of course it is a CBT, there's a high likelihood of the progress being wiped and such. So you will have a lot of non-typical behaviors in like players where they'll just try everything and anything and just play how they would usually not play. Uh, just like a bunch of people just going into criminal status, etc., just to try it out, which could potentially shift the balance of the game around of what it would actually be in a real scenario, because this is a beta phase. This is a beta phase. There's no guarantee of persistence, so you could do anything you want if it just gets wiped.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's still a nice view into it for us to get an understanding of what is actually set in place and what can we expect to some degree.
Yeah. Well, I think we both can agree that's our top one game on this list.
Yeah, for sure. No doubt.
Well, and talking about these 4 games, because each of the games is going to have PvE, and each of the games is going to have some kind of PvP. I'm actually not sure about Path of Exile if it's going to have PvP, but for the other games I know it's going to have PvP and PvE. So beside all these 4 games, we have a number 5 one, which is coming a bit from the side, and it's actually a bit fun because there was a group of developers working for Riot, basically the developers of League of Legends. They jumped out from the company and created a company called Vela Games. And they are right now working on a game called Project V, which I got alpha to next week. And this game is supposed to be you could say an MMO / dungeon crawler. So it's gonna be a twist between an MMO and a twist between a dungeon crawler. And they actually called it a multiplayer online co-op, and they called it for short MOCO, MOCO. So they're basically trying to create their own, you could say,
terminology.
Yeah, exactly. But they're saying, while we are not ready to talk about specifics, Project V gameplay, gameplay combines the team play and skill of a MOBA and the adventure of an MMO dungeon raid. So it basically sounds like it's an MOBA inside a raid in, for example, World of Warcraft.
I'm so confused. Like, it does look interesting. I think I've heard of this, like in brief passing, but it's such a weird, like, way of describing the game that does not give out a proper vision of what it is. At least to me, I'm sure there's like plenty of people that like listening that would clearly just have like an instant idea of what it is. I suppose to me, my basic view of it is that it would be something like a hub intermissions type of like game, so that you don't have like an open world and such, but it's just you got a hub, you select like a dungeon raid or something, and you just queue into it with like your friends and whatever, and just go through it. And I suppose with some element of PvP in there somehow.
Yeah. I think it's more gonna be like, when I read it, I think it's gonna be like a League of Legends, because they also worked on it. So they of course have a lot of things they can take with them, how the client works, how the game works. But I think it's gonna be like League of Legends, but then in this battle they have, it's gonna be like, I imagine it like if you like take the good old raid Molten Core from World of Warcraft, and then you place a MOBA map inside it. So you have like bosses, you have like monsters and all that, and creeps and tons of monsters. But at the same time, each of the players, they also have to do some kind of objective for winning. And it's maybe not killing the other enemy's core, but it may be who gets to the last boss first and kills him. So that you
Okay.
could you see that, like,
I guess I could see that sort of a speed. You could like take the approach of who clears the raid faster, or there's like certain sections where you would collide with the other team going through it.
oh yeah, because World of Warcraft has this very big esport where it's mythic dungeons. So two teams at the same time, they play a dungeon with commentators and all that, and the first team who kills the last boss basically wins. This could be a game just all around that.
It could be like, in all honesty, it's so unspecific of what it actually is that it could be anything at this point around this range of MOBA meets dungeon raids. But it is interesting. I suppose from like dungeon raids, I would expect the party to like be more than just like 4 or 5 people.
Yeah, probably.
Because otherwise, I don't see why they would mention like dungeon raids, unless they're like talking about mechanics, like mechanically speaking. But I still
Yeah,
think there'd be more people.
yeah, I think it's gonna be like 5 versus 5, and who knows? Maybe they're gonna do 4 versus 4, to like break the meta. Because some people, they really love when games comes out and say, "Hey, we're gonna do 3 versus 3 or 4 versus 4," and not 5 versus 5 like every other game does.
It it does look very very. It does sound very interesting. Can't say how it looks because we literally have not seen anything about it. But at least,
We, I mean,
yeah, go on.
we have only seen the art of the game. Like, the art is really fantastic. The heroes they create, the characters, everything looks so cool on paper. On paper, we haven't seen any gameplay. I am gonna go in and play the alpha next week, but it's under a very, very, very strict NDA. Like a big contract you had to sign with your.
Lucky you.
Yeah, you had to like sign it with names and all that. So they really got you all over the place if you do something. So I'm not gonna risk anything and share something. So I'm gonna wait till the day they tell me when I can actually share. But also, I'm I did the what is called the community manager of Villa Games. I'm doing
Yeah,
I'm having a pretty good conversation with him. So I don't want to ruin anything by breaking the NDA and getting sued.
yeah. Probably, regardless of breaking anything with like the CM. I think the main reasoning is to not get sued
Yeah,
more than losing contacts.
yeah, exactly. And also, as a YouTuber, you don't want to like start breaking NDAs, because then no one want to work with you.
Yeah, I suppose one big thing is it does mention MOBA as one of its sides of the game,
Yeah.
and it does have people from coming over from Riot that it could like it has a high chance of potentially having a lot of characters on it, a lot of like classes or characters, whatever way they go, with a typical MOBA style kit where you have like four QWER the skills and a passive, or maybe a slight variation of that, but which is a type of character skills that I quite enjoy. So it is something for sure that I would be keeping on my radar whenever like they decide to reveal more of it.
Mm-hmm.
I suppose my first thought would not jump to something like Path of Exile or Diablo, where you have like a bunch of different skills to it, like on one character.
Yeah, yeah. And in this game, you're gonna have 5 spells probably, and maybe item shop. Maybe there's gonna be dungeons bosses where you actually get drops from them. I mean, who
Yeah,
knows?
could be like closer to how Corepunk does it with like the 5 skills of a character kit, some utilities, like 2 utility skills that are like common between every class, and then just like a set of items typically seen in League of Legends or Dota or something, where some of those items could have skills in it, like basic skills.
Hmm.
But it could be closer to Corepunk in terms of character skill design and character itemization more
Yeah.
than just Path of Exile and Diablo and such.
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, it's a cool gem. I'm gonna try it out next week. I can't talk about it, so but well, I asked. He gave me permissions to say that I have the alpha, but I'm not allowed to talk about it. So it's gonna be my little secret how the game is. Yeah.
Yeah, lucky you. You're gonna be able to get some understanding of what exactly they mean by what was it again? Mocha?
Moko, yeah,
Like
yeah.
exactly what that is, because I have no idea like of what what that entails.
Mm, yeah. So yeah, but I think that rounds up all the topics for today. That we started with the Lord of the Rings MMO. We talked about these you can say top view games. What did I call it?
Isometric, yeah,
Isometric view, yeah.
isometric games.
And then Project V as a little bonus game, which goes into alpha next week. So you can still go to vellagames.com, and I think that's the website, but you Google Vella Games and then go to the website and sign up for alpha. I mean, you still have a chance to get in, so go
Yeah,
in.
which I assume it's an isometric game as well, right?
Yeah,
For
yeah,
expired
definitely.
employees. Oh,
They
okay.
they have shown not screenshots, but they have shown art that looks like screenshots, and that's all isometric.
Okay. Definitely something to have on my radar as well.
Yeah, definitely.
And
Well,
I suppose before, if we're talking about Riot and such, they did, and I don't like, I believe there's like no info out there or very little. Riot did have also like a Project F, I think, which
well,
they
well.
like showed like a few seconds on the 10-year anniversary that they had from League of Legends,
Yeah, they.
which was basically an ARPG from League.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. They have an ARPG working on from Project F, which they showed 3 seconds, as you said. And we saw two of the heroes running around killing creeps. We also saw I think 5 additional seconds on another stream, which also were just running around killing creeps. But that's not even the funny thing. That's more like, okay, fine, an ARPG. The most epic thing is they announced also they making an MMO.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. There was actually that MMO as well, which I suppose we actually don't know anything about currently.
Nothing. The only thing we know is that the original game lead game designer Ghost Crawler from World of Warcraft, he was pretty cool. He is the main lead game designer, I think it was, on this new League of Legends MMO. So they definitely found the right person, because I think he really made World of Warcraft what it is today. So he should be knowing how to do a new MMO.
Got it. That does sound promising. Like someone with experience, like with good experience, I suppose. Uh,
Yeah, but when they announced it a couple of months ago, they didn't have anything. I don't even think they have a logo or anything like that. I think they really are right now drawing on a drawing board what the game is going to be about.
all right, that does sound good. Hopefully, we get some more about it.
Yeah, that's probably the game we can wish for in 2025. Yeah. Okay. I think we basically covered all the topics now, so I'm not gonna bump any more. I already have exciting topics for the next episodes. We're gonna save them for that. And of course, things that is going, if other cool things is gonna happen next week, then of course we're gonna cover those too.
Yeah, I
So
want to know.
yeah, of course. So Alumio, do you have like a last word, anything you want to say before I'm gonna wrap it up?
I have just no idea. Just put me on the spot. I suppose to say, well, thank you, and I hope some of you listening got an interest, a new interest, or a refresh in an already existing interest about any of these games, because there's definitely like one or two that I'm going to be looking deeper into and looking forward to hopefully find something fun and interesting to keep me busy.
Definitely. And as Alumio said, he's invincible. He's like a stealth lurking person on the internet, so you cannot really follow him on any social media, I guess.
Nope. Keep it that way.
Keep it that
Don't
way.
stalk me. Stay away.
But if you want to really find him, go to the Discord of Corepunk Game, and you will be sure to find him in the chat.
Yeah, I'll probably be there every day, to be honest.
Yeah. Well, and for people listening for this podcast on Spotify, iTunes, Google Play, wherever you're listening from this, I am Dvalin, and you can find me on youtube.com/DvalinDK. I make most of my content on YouTube, so you're very welcome to come over and have a look and see all the content I make over there. But else, everyone, thanks for listening. This was the first episode of Gaming Landscape Podcast. It was a pleasure having you all listening. Thanks for joining, Alumio.
Cheers.
Goodbye, everyone, and sleep well depending on where you are in the world right now.
Bye.